Hey guys, Miss Tate here. Okay, before we start today's math lesson, I just want you to think, if you've got common sense, this will make sense, okay? Today's lesson, you're going to have to use reasonableness. That means, like, does it make sense? So we're going to be adding and subtracting fractions, and the whole time we're doing it, we're going to be checking, is that reasonable? Like, does it make sense? Like, just use our common sense. And if something doesn't make sense, that's like a warning, and we know maybe we made a mistake somewhere or that the problem is wrong, okay? So what we're going to be looking at today is using kind of benchmark fractions to help us determine if an answer is reasonable or not. So let's take a look at some of these together before you work on them by yourself, and I'll show you kind of what I mean. So here's a story problem here for us. It says a rover, like a Mars rover here on Mars, a rover considers many possible paths before choosing the safest path towards its goal. A rover moved 2/6 of a yard in a straight line, and then 5/6 of a yard around the rock. They would like to know, how far did it travel? So it moved this much and then it moved this much. This seems like a nice regular addition fraction problem, which it is. Let's take a look. It says, okay, you can use fraction strips to help us out. So it first moved 2/6 of a yard. So I could shade in, all right, there's 2/6. And then it kept going, right? It moved 5/6 after that. So I'm just gonna add 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it started at 2/6 and then it moved 5 more. So altogether, how many 6 did it move? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6. Right? It moved 7/6 of a yard. I could write it down this way, right? So 2/6 plus it went another 5/6. It went a total of 7/6. Well, right now, 7/6 is what we called improper fraction. So I want to write it as a mixed number using a whole. So notice here, I already have this whole piece right here, which is one whole. And then I have one whole and then one other little piece. So 7/6, right, is the same as one whole and 1/6. So now that I have an answer, I just want to use my common sense and think, hey, is this a reasonable answer? And we're going to just kind of think yes or no to ourselves. So I'm not going to do every single thing down here, but just think about this. Okay, well, 5/6, look at that. It is almost one whole, right? It's just one little piece away. So this is almost one whole, right? Almost one whole. And then this one over here, 2/6. I know this one, it's more than nothing, but it's less than a half. So it's more than 0, right? But it's less than a half. So if I combine these two together, I know whatever my answer is going to have to be less than 1.5. And my answer is less than 1.5. So my answer does match. It makes sense. It is reasonable. If I would have done this, then I would have gotten like 3 and 4/6, right? That I would think I would catch myself, and that would not be reasonable because I know, like, oh, I only have one whole here, about one whole, and this one's not even a whole. So I could tell, hey man, that's not reasonable at all. Or if you did all this work and then for some reason you got like 2/6 as your answer. Well, hopefully you would realize, well, you already had more than that here, and then you added more. So you would realize, hey, that's not reasonable. So you just kind of check yourself and make sure it makes sense and make some common sense. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, this one says a rover must move 5/8 mile to reach its goal. So 5/8 total. It's already moved 1/8 of the mile towards the goal. How much further must the rover go? So this one is a subtraction problem to find the difference. Well, you can do this one a couple different ways. So you know it has to go a total of 5/8 already. So I'm going to shade in 5/8. I'm going to do a little bit differently than what it says. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8. That's the goal. He's already gone 1/8. So I'm going to take out one of these eighths. So how much further does he have to go to reach his goal? Well, it's these ones that are left, right? 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8. So he has to go 4/8 left. This one makes sense, right? So we started at 5/8. He's already gone 1/8. He still needs to go 4/8. Now let's think, right? Is this reasonable? I think it is, because if I look at my numbers, I know 5/8, that's almost a half. I know that's almost a half because I know 4/8 is a half. So it's almost a half, and 1/8 is almost 0. It's nothing. So if I have a half minus nothing, my answer should still be somewhere near 1/2, and it is exactly 1/2. So I know my answer is reasonable. All right, let me show an example of one that's not reasonable, and it should give you like a flag, and you're like, oh my gosh, no, that doesn't make sense. Let's try one like that. Okay, look at this one. It says, one day, 3/8 of the students in Jack's class ate toast for breakfast. Another 1/8 of the students ate oatmeal. Jack added the fractions and found that the sum was 7/8. So we want to see, is that a reasonable answer or is that not a reasonable answer? So he added them. He did 3/8 plus 1/8, and he found the sum to be 7/8. Now, right now, stop and think, like, is this reasonable or not? We've got two answers that say yes, they are reasonable, and two that say no, they're not reasonable. Let's think about what these are close to. So 3/8, I know, is closest to the benchmark fraction of like 4/8, which is a half. So this one is close to 1/2. 1/8 is just one tiny little piece, right? That is going to be closer to 0. So if I have a half and I add basically nothing to it, my answer should be near 1/2. But look, his answer that he got, 7/8, is not near a half. 7/8 is near 1/2. That's only one piece away from a whole. So you should catch yourself and say, hey, you know what? That's not reasonable. That doesn't seem to match, because this is only about a half plus just a little bit. Shouldn't be near a whole already. It should still be near somewhere around a half. So I know it's not reasonable, but let's look to see why, right? So it's not reasonable because a half plus 0, right, should still be somewhere near a half. So look at this, should be our answer as C. So I just want you to think about, as you work on some fractions and work on some problems, you're going to be adding and subtracting. And I just want you to keep in mind, does that make sense? Does it seem reasonable? Just kind of use your common sense and it will come to you, I think. All right, so you're going to work on some adding and subtracting problems on the next page. Good luck.